I'm going to ask those who have been working to come to the table. David, Mike, Orlando, Henry, Harden, or yeah. 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 Well, it's been a busy day in Unit 4. So I always say it's a great day, but it's been busy. We've been working tirelessly. I've got groups that have been working across the system to prepare us to move forward for our 23-24 school year. So I thought it was about time that we start bringing something to you all about what we're doing as a school board, so you'll know what's happening. So of course, our mission and our vision. Our vision is to empower each learner to thrive in a diverse and changing world, and our mission is to positively transform learning and life outcomes for our students through educational justice, equity, and excellence. And I say this and I read it off because these two things help bring me here to this position. And I'm excited about it because working in this position with such amazing people helps me understand that this is not just words on a paper, but we're trying to make this vision and this mission come to life. So just as a reminder, you already know this, we serve over 10,000 students, pre-K through 12, in 19 buildings with nearly 2,000 Champaign champions. That's our staff members, teachers, food service, bus drivers, monitors, counselors, nurses, and so many more. So I just want to keep that at the forefront of this conversation and this report. Sometime during the school year, I presented to you all our journey from compliance to commitment. And one of the things we talked about was where we started from, how this strategic plan came into play, what we did in 2020, 2021 before I got here, and then when I took the reins in 21, 22, where we were on the journey, and 22, 23, what we have done this school year. And so what I want to continue looking at now is equity in action. We use the word equity all the time, but I need to make sure that we don't use it as a buzzword, but it is actually what drives the work that we're doing. And equity involves so many things. So our journey continues. And so what we're going to talk about tonight are the things on our journey for 23-24. And so some of the areas of focus will be, as we talked about, and I say, this is also on page 14 of our strategic plan. One of the first things it talks about is expanding access to early childhood. So we're doing that for next year. Alternative education pathways and expansion, increased instructional time for elementary students, job-embedded professional development for our staff. And when I say job-embedded, that means on the ground, during the day, while they're there, getting the supports that they need, not this drive-by, give you a couple minutes of professional development, because we know that doesn't work. So job-embedded. We are continuing our expansion of AVID. We are developing our portrait of a graduate for pre-K-12. When our students leave Unit 4, what does it look like? What do we expect? Because it's not just get them to graduate, but how do we help them get ready for the next phase of their life? And so that means we're also deepening our work on college and career readiness. Dr. Ward, do you have anything you wanted to add to that? This is really one of your areas of equity.
No, I just wanted to reiterate that, we're now moving into the action phase, and you can see a lot of things that are going forth as you hear the school spotlights. You should see some through lines, things that are consistent across schools and things that are different. We serve over 10,000 students, and no path is the same. So what you're seeing is that some students need an early opportunity, some students need a system of support, and of course, some students may need an alternative path. So we're really trying to make sure that we put those changes into action in place and follow the data to make sure students saturate those paths. When you look at the districts in the board's commitment, we talk about some of the values are to really invest in teachers as well, so professional development. No other profession if people go in and keep working and don't get the tools that they need to be excellent. So priorities 1 and 2 is instructional excellence and educational opportunity or access.
Thank you. And I can't stress enough that we're tired of living in the world of compliance. We're committed to this work. So there are things that we have to do out of compliance, but that's not where we want to live. We want to live in the world of commitment. We're committed to this system, to our students, to our staff, to our families, to our community, and that means we have to do some things different in order to get there. So just wanted to put that. So what we're going to talk about now is how did we get here? Our strategic plan, and Dr. Ward talked a little bit about that. So one of the first things we did was we reviewed the data, and we do review the data often. It's not one of those one-time, one and done, but we are constantly looking at our data. And then we jointly negotiated a framework with CFT and CESP and to come up with this work. We implemented focus schools and the SAMS work. Because that's where Dr. Ward was also talking about, we have to invest in our staff. We must. If our schools are going to move forward and our students are going to benefit, we have to invest in our students. And then we brought focus schools along, and who's been instrumental. And from the schools that have presented, they've talked a great deal about the work with focus schools. And then the SAM work helps them to stay the course and to be those instructional leaders in their buildings. And then the next thing that we're going to talk about is we formed our working groups, and those working groups have been working, and that's why I said we've been busy. So we got some things that we didn't do this in isolation. Every group had community members, teachers and staff members, administrators, and we had community parents on some of these working groups. So we're serious about this work. So here's where we are. We're going to give you an update on our working groups. We're going to talk about the new updated bell schedule, transportation, student assignment process, early childhood expansion, elementary school updates, Garden Hills programming, the band and strings programming, middle school schedules, and the Columbia updates. So we're going to go through all those quickly with you and then give you an opportunity to ask questions if you have any. Okay? So one of the first things we're going to talk about is the updated bell schedule. And I have to say, I am so excited that we had an amazing group of teachers and administrators and other staff members. We had people from CESP, which is our parapros and bus drivers. We had people from CFT, which is our teachers. We had community members. We had administrators. We had our some district level folks. We had some parents who were at the table. And so I just want to remind everyone that during the negotiations back in last school year that took effect, some of it takes effect this year, we increased the length of student instructional days from 6 hours to 6 hours and 50 minutes, I think it was, or 6 hours and 15 minutes to 6 hours and 50 minutes. That's what it is. So our increase that time to 6 hours and 50 minutes for all of our K-5 and pre-K campuses, which is going to begin next school year. And so we were using this year to plan and get things in motion. So we're excited about having this additional time to work with our students each day. We have better spacing and start and end times between campuses, which dramatically reduces the possibility of us having to cancel transportation services. And there's nothing more irritating, and I can tell you this, from my transportation department knows, I do not like, Brad, to see those emails that says, no transportation, no transportation. So they worked very hard to address this. And sometimes it was a short notice that they had to cancel school, or not cancel school, cancel transportation. So the new schedule better aligns with dismissal schedules for all of our elementary and middle schools based on feeder patterns, improving families' abilities to coordinate drop-off and pick-up. We adjusted early childhood times, which reduces CECC transportation delays and significantly improves our ability to transport our youngest students on time. Now having both the pre-K-8 buildings at Garden Hills and IPA on the same bell schedule will allow for a more efficient transportation for athletics and extracurricular activities as both schools continue to grow. And we're also revising the bell schedule. Revising the schedule is also a manner now reduces the likelihood that the district would need to modify the bell schedule again in the near future, because I can guarantee you those who are in that room do not want to come together again and do this. So they're like, no, we don't want to have to do this again. So that they took the time to do this. So I want to say thank you to that group. They did great work. So here's an example here, and I sent this email out to all administrators, all staff, all family members, so they can see the updated bell schedule. And so those with the asterisk next to them are those that didn't really have a major change, or had change, no change, I'm sorry, no change to their bail schedule, but others we did have to change a little bit. And so if anybody from the table who was a part of that team has anything they want to add to that, feel free to jump in. But I think this bail schedule really kind of speaks for itself. And I want to say thank you to all those who, and Peter Furch, who led the group, along with Brad. It wasn't easy, and we didn't want to keep things status quo. If we got to make some major changes to benefit our system, we had to make some changes.
Do you want questions now or at?
You sure can ask them now if you like.
I think one of the questions that I saw was with the start times,
Mm-hmm.
when should students arrive? Like how we have it now, does it differ from, for instance, Carrie Busey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Teachers are outside at 7:25, and then the day starts later. So how, is that similar? Will it?
Yeah, and they're working, we're going to be working with our buildings on that. LT has been working with staff, sure.
Yeah, so actually, it's on the agenda for the elementary principal meetings
Yes.
next week to talk about what would be best for them. Worked with Margie Poole today. If certain students who I need nursing services before school, so we're going to talk with each school. It could be different a little bit depending on how they have transportation and different things, but yeah, we'll do it next week.
So what we have here are just basically when students start and when they get out. So we wanted to make sure that was clear for our families. It'll look a little different based upon the employees, and so that's something that we're working out with each building. And we also have someone on standby to kind of help work with our principals if they need some help and some support in making this work. Yeah.
Sheila, thank you. Looking at this, the earliest start time for any of our elementary campuses is 7:45.
Yes.
And before this, what was our earliest start time for our elementary campuses?
7:50.
Okay, so there's a 5-minute change as our earliest start time, and our latest end time for elementary is at 3:30 is what I'm seeing, and wasn't Barksdale 3:20 before that? So it's a 10-minute change about because I think Barksdale was one of the later end times. Does that sound right? I only speak with full confidence on 3 campuses. I apologize, but those are the schedules I know the best. Okay, I want to make sure so in terms of adjustment, there are adjustments on each end, but we've certainly, it looks like a lot of work has gone into
Yes.
making it as light an impact as possible.
Right, and so one of the things I just kind of want to see if I can help you all with is it was important that we make sure that the elementary schools feeding into the middle schools, that the parents had enough time to get students to school, depending on where they're traveling from. We wanted to make sure that our larger schools were not in that second tier of buses, because we have 3 tiers of buses. So we had to make sure, in order to avoid not having enough transportation for the end of the day or delaying the buses, we had to make some adjustments and change when our larger schools need to be at the first tier or the third tier. So that's why we had to make a few adjustments there.
And larger is enrollment numbers?
Okay. And the number of buses.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Did I get that right? Yes. You all helped me understand all this. Thank you. That's because I have an amazing team. Okay. The next thing I just wanted, since we're kind of talking about transportation, I'm sorry, was there any other questions about the bail schedule? Updated? Okay. The next thing is the exciting part is for transportation. So we will have our new routing system that you all voted on and approved a while back in full implementation for this summer, 2023. So for our summer programs, the new routing system will be ready. The parent app, Bus GPS Ride 360, it helps our parents to track their students on the bus. They know where the bus is with their student. We also have tablets for routing and scanning for students' ridership. So a student's ID will be scanned so we know who's on the bus and who gets off the bus. So we're getting into the 21st century. So not having to write it, but we use the electronic, to scan them on and scan them off. So the new field trip scheduling software, that will start, or did start. It already started. Yep, that was January, right? We're in April. Wow. January 2023, the new field trip scheduling software kicked into place, which is very crucial. If you've never tried to hand do field trips for 19 campuses, and not to mention all the athletics and the extracurricular things we got going on, So, again, in the 21st century, all right, we have 20 new buses arriving this summer all through December. We have preventative maintenance software that we started using January 2023. So it helps us know when our buses need oil changes, tire rotations, et cetera, for all of our district vehicles. So we don't have to worry about whoopsie. We actually have software to help us for preventative maintenance. Preventative maintenance, if you are preventative, instead of being reactionary, then that's a good thing. So I want to give a shout out to our transportation department. And we also have cameras and Wi-Fi installed on all of our buses. Wi-Fi will be configured in 23-24, and that is going to be powerful too because it will help the school day be an extension. When you're on the bus, you can extend your school day while you're on the bus. So our kiddos, if they need some extra time, what they've got their Chromebooks, they can do some work on the bus while they're trying to get home or what have you. So we're really excited about that. So Brad or Henry, do you have anything you want to add to this? Because this is your baby. Good? Job well done. I'm excited. So our parents are going to be excited about this, the routing system and the student tracking.
When you talk about cameras, do all of our buses have them in the stop arm? Because every day I'm watching people go around buses with their stop arm out illegally, and it's so dangerous. So I'm just curious if every bus has it yet?
Every bus have, not necessarily on the stop arm, but they do have it on the outside of the buses. We have been cracking down on people who pass the stop arm. I know that they have like a chart at the transportation office that they submit to Brad, and he works with CPD because it is a problem.
Thank you.
I have a question. I know that we had quite a few buses that were maybe scheduled on different systems, and they were just missed. So that field trip software for activities, it's one system. Everyone goes into one. It's not two. So we should have a better system moving forward. Okay,
Yes, and we are actually using that system now.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
So things have gotten better, and I'm telling you, trying to change people's habits, it's been very difficult. So when you talk about systems, and I say this all the time jokingly, but I'm so serious, we've been on a cleanup tour. So trying to figure out all the things that need to be adjusted and to, because we had, Mr. Kleber teases me all the time because we have that. Well, I never saw it. Well, we're getting back to some things that I think COVID kind of, well, that's my story and I'm sticking to it, that probably COVID kind of put some things on the back burner. So we're going back, we're moving forward in things that we know need to happen. So that's one of those things. So the field trips piece, no longer can schools just call and get a bus wherever they want to because no one wants to have to pay for it out of their own pocket.
So is that also a system of accountability? Is it tracking? If someone doesn't get it done?
Yeah, it comes with tracking, also procedures around that. It's very hard to schedule trips that's, given to you at the last minute. So we ask 14 days out or as farther out as possible, especially towards the end of the year when you want to do field trips. Because especially when it comes to charter type things, because a lot of other districts are doing it, and if you come late, chances are you won't get a bus. So there's procedures around that, but the system really helps track things. We can go back and helps us with transportation reimbursements, mileage, all those other administrative tasks that was paper and pencil and trying to go back and looking at anecdotal notes and things like that.
And Linda appreciates it too because it keeps us frugal. And I appreciate it because I don't like to spend money that we don't have to spend if we're not being wise. So when you do things on time with a system, you'll be amazed at how much of a less cost it is for you.
I will say, though, I'm more than happy to spend money for turning those cameras on, to what Amy was saying. The things I've seen of cars going around at IPA, at Edison, at elementary campuses where, let's be honest, our children are not looking the way, well, the high schoolers aren't looking either, but at minimum, they're easier to see. I'm more than happy to see us spend some money to turn those cameras on and catch some people and work with CPD, because what I've seen even in the last 10 days outside of IPA would stop your heart.
Yeah.
As I'm dropping my kids off, I watch it every day, specific to IPA, there's cars doing 50, 60 miles an hour down Kirby as kids are going, and the crossing guards are out. Like, it's clear this is a school zone.
It's unbearable to watch. As a pedestrian, as a driver, as a parent, it's unbearable to watch. So I'd rather spend some money on the cameras for a couple weeks and get some people learning a tough lesson than learn the lessons we don't want our children learning.
We'll work on that. Okay. Yep. Thank you. Appreciate that. All righty. Okay. So this takes us to the next piece. Had to get transportation kind of under control a little bit, and then we can start talking more about the student assignment process. And as you notice, it has a new name. It is called the student assignment process, not choice. It's the student assignment process, and so we have a new student assignment process webpage. We have a new infographic to clearly explain the process, and it was reviewed by staff and by parents. We have updated board policy that's in review right now regarding this process. We have a student assignment book that's coming soon. It's almost finished. And we have school spotlight videos that we will also share. They'll be on the webpage as well. We put into place some outreach efforts that have been in place, but we're also hitting them again and making sure they have the new updated information around childcare. We have childcare providers, churches, community partners. We'll also be distributing flyers containing all the information regarding the new student assignment process. And so we're really excited about this and all the hard work that went into play. And I just want to kind of show you what the infographic, the front page infographic will look like. It's there, and so this all aligns to the strategic plan priority number 2, educational access. And so we wanted to make sure we get this out here. And so it's pretty fascinating. The website is beautiful. This booklet, the infographic is amazing. It explains to you step by step how to register your child for school. Mr. Orlando Thomas and his team did a great job leading this out. And so, did you have anything you wanted to add to this piece?
Just that the new infographic was put in place in an attempt to provide some clarity for incoming families. We know that kindergarten is sending your kiddo for the first time is a big event. And there was, the process was no secret. We had it outlined in the student assignment book. It's been there every year. The process has not changed since its implementation in 1999. This infographic just is a much more user-friendly with pictures and a step-by-step process for parents. Dr. Boozer did mention the 2 families that we did share it with were like, as a new person coming in that may not know anything about our process, this is really clear, and that was our goal.
And then we also shared it with a family who's gone through, 2 families have gone through the process in the past and said this, they liked it and said, thank you, this makes a lot of sense. So it took, So thanks, Ms. Arnold. And so we wanted to make sure that because we know it, sometimes when you know the process and it's in your head, you know what it expects, but if you have to make sure other people who see it understand what you're trying to get across. And so when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I would have loved to have had this my first year here because that whole choice thing, I didn't really understand the whole process until we went through with cooperative strategies and that whole changing and things of that nature. That's when I really got a good understanding of this process. And so it's in depth, but we made this very user-friendly, step-by-step, simple, and I'm excited about it.
Dr. Boozer?
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Go ahead.
The new web page is not live yet.
Yes.
So if people start searching, it'll be live tomorrow.
Right, that was my next piece here. No, you're fine. No, my communication person, thank you so much. You have to help me, because I get beyond myself sometimes. So thank you, Stacy. So the other thing is, here's some important dates, and we didn't get this out sooner because we had work we need to continue. And I know sometimes it's hard when you're waiting for something, but I have learned that if you do things too quickly, then you have to go back and backtrack. That is not a good look. And I'm trying to rebuild trust and show that we do know what we're doing as a system. And sometimes people want things before we can give it to them. And I rather err on the side of wait and get the information correct before I bring something to you that is incorrect. So April 25th, which is tomorrow, sometime tomorrow, It's not going to be first thing in the morning, and it may not even be midday, but sometime tomorrow, the kindergarten registration will open and it will close on June 23rd. May 2nd, we have kindergarten welcome night. It's going to be from 6 to 7:30 at Garden Hills. And then May 9th and May 17th are the school tours from 5 to 7. And so we will have more information about how you sign up for the school tours, but we have those 2 dates, May 9th, May 17th. If you want to tour school, you want to go on both nights, and you want to do a couple schools, however you want to do it, we'll work with you. But May 9th, May 17th, school tours. And then registration outreach dates, May 9th for IPA will be from 4 to 7. May 15th, Garden Hills, 4 to 7. May 23rd, Champaign Public Library, 5:30 to 8. May 31st, Martin Center from 5 to 8. And then we also have in-person registration support on June 6th, 8th, 13th, and 15th, right here from 2 to 6. And also again on June 20th, right here from 9 to noon. And we will post all this information so that you can see it, you have access to it. But we just want to make sure the public knows that we are doing everything in our power to support this new student assignment process, and here are the important dates. And on May 2nd, that kindergarten welcome night will be information, the principals will be present, they'll do a presentation about kindergarten. If you have time for questions, they'll walk you through the student assignment process. That's when you'll actually get to see the new infographic, the booklet, so to speak. So it's a big to-do, and we want to make sure we communicate it well, so everybody knows.
I think you've clarified the question I was going to ask, but the May 2nd, that's for everybody who has an incoming kindergartner, not just Garden Hills students.
Right, it's going to be held at Garden Hills, but for every kindergarten, anybody has a kindergarten, and if you're new to Unit 4, we're inviting them as well. But our main focus is our kindergarten students. But if you're brand new to Unit 4, you're welcome to that as well.
Okay, and then the May 9th and May 17th school tours, all elementary schools are going to be available, okay? And then like people will be able to register at home on their own, but if they need some support, they can go, anybody who's registering a student can go to any of those dates.
Yes, ma'am. And so the registration outreach dates are the days that we are taking the show on the road. So we'll be at IPA on May 7th or May 9th. We'll be at Garden Hills on May 15th. We'll be at the Champaign Library on May 23rd, and then also on May 31st, because everybody doesn't have access, or they may have access, they just don't know what they're doing and need some support. That's okay. We're just trying to get everyone we can to wrap around them. And then if they just can't make those, then we're going to also have some more dates in June right here. And so, yeah, and I'm glad you asked those questions. So the May 9th and 17th are school tours for incoming kindergartners, and I believe, is it for new families as well, or just kindergarten? I don't speak to help me for the school tours on May 9th.
The school tours at this time are just for the incoming kindergarten families.
Okay.
If we need to schedule additional dates, we would do that. We want to see if these two are sufficient. And I know we do have a sign up. It's on the flyer that Dr. Boozer
I
will
was gonna
share
show
on the next
next.
slide. But we want parents, the tours will happen in 30-minute increments. So we'll start at 5, 5:30, 6, and 6:30. So parents can scan a QR code, sign up, so that the campuses have an idea of how many families to plan for every 30 minutes.
Yep. Yeah,
I think in the past, there may have been like a shuttle to help parents who may not have a car to get from school to school. Will that be, or will
That's a good
some
question.
sort of transportation?
That's a
That
great
was your
question.
plan all along,
That's the
and
plan.
I was just bringing that
Sure,
to the
yeah,
surface. Terrific.
Well, be careful saying sure until you make sure you've got the
The
shuttle.
transportation people said
Brad will drive.
absolutely.
Brad will drive, right, Brad? So, and the other thing is, because everybody may not want to actually tour school, so that's why we were trying to make sure we put out there the spotlights on the webpage, on the website as well, because you can actually see some of the things that happen in a typical school day. And then if you just want to see the space. So we're trying to do a little bit of both. I have a question over here.
Question, I've talked to a couple of people who homeschool and are thinking about entering our middle schools. There's no school tours, obviously, for them on those days, but they should contact the office.
Yeah, contact the schools for those, because we're still,
Contact
yes.
the schools themselves for the
Yes.
tours? Okay.
Yes, because I think, well, since when COVID was happening, we kind of stopped doing those. So
Yeah.
we kind of started easing back into those school tours. So we also have kiddos who are coming to us to the high schools as well. So they're doing the same thing. LT, do you have anything else with that? I mean, Dr. Taylor?
That's okay. Actually, it's a good reminder, yes, because of COVID, sometimes we kind of lost that a little bit. So I have the middle school and high school principals next week
Yes.
as well, and we'll remind all of them.
Yep. We're excited about this because we got great stuff going on and we want people to know about it. We tried. Okay, thank you. All righty. The next thing I have here for you is just to show you the actual flyer that's going to be publicized and going out that just kind of talks about what we just discussed with the QR code. We're also going to put it on our website and talks about the tours at our 12 elementary schools, when and where, 30-minute guided tours, online kindergarten registration. There's a link to that as well. When registration begins and when it closes. Visit and learn before you rank your choices. So if you want to know more about the schools, we encourage you to attend the kindergarten registration information session. That is at Garden Hills.
Thank you. I have another question. I have seen on social media, which you always got to double check everything you see on social media. Somebody had said that, if you want to increase your kid's chance of getting into your first choice school, you got to get your stuff in as early as possible. I don't know that that's true.
No. No. And it took me a year to figure this all out, too. I'm telling you. So,
Yeah, so the new infographic will outline that every person who registers, regardless of when you register, when we start the process, everyone is given a random ID, and it is, you could register last, you could register in the middle or the beginning,
Nope.
no bearing.
no. We want to debunk that myth, so thank you.
And thank you for debunking it here.
Okay, anybody else?
Dr. B, I do want to also add other things that will be on the new student assignment webpage that will be beneficial. Along with the flyer, we will have the assignment data from this current school year, 22-23. So families will be able to see how many families ranked each school, how many families actually got their choice. And in the infographic, we give some 6-year historical data. 86% of families over the past 6 years have gotten their first choice, and 91% of families received their first, second, or third choice. And then the spotlight videos, as well as the proximity map.
Ready.
So if families want to know what is your proximity school, the map will be on the website for you to type in your address and see what school is actually your proximity school.
Yeah, and when the website goes live, that's going to be a part of that website. So, and Stacy said it'll be sometime tomorrow. Yes, sometime tomorrow. Might not be 7:45 or 8 o'clock a.m., but it'll be sometime.
You have till 11:59.
Might be 11:59, but it'll happen. So we're trying to be as transparent as we possibly can because there's a lot of hard work that happens in our system. And so we don't have anything to hide or whatever. We're trying to do what's best for our students and our staff in our community in Unit 4. So thank you to those who reached out to give us questions, who asked questions, give us ideas, suggestions. We're trying to make things happen because it is a new day and it's a great day in Unit 4. And a busy day. So, okay, so then the next part, I want to give you an update on the early childhood expansion. So we have additional classrooms and increased number of students. So we're at CEC plans to add at least 2 half-day classrooms. Garden Hill plans to add 2 full-day classrooms. IPA plans to add 2 full-day Spanish-English classrooms. Feedback from our Spanish-speaking families has been overwhelmingly positive. And we also have programming things going on. So we're following. So we have to understand, We want to expand our early childhood, and we want to have the full day programs, but it's not just a push of the button, poof, you get to choose. There's criteria. We're following ISB's eligibility guidance for the half day versus the full day enrollment, so it's not just something that we just want to make up ourselves. There is guidance. Garden Hills and IPA will follow their building schedule. What I mean by that, if you're a full day early childhood student, you will follow the school day of IPA or Garden Hills, whichever one you happen to be in, because the guidelines state pre-K students have to follow the schedule of a first grade. So whatever the first grade schedule is for the day, that's what the early childhood, so if you're in full day. So there's guidance. We're in the middle of developing roles and responsibilities for CECC and the satellite campuses. So everything will not fall on the building principal. There are some things that our CEC staff and administrators will have to do, and we're working through all those pieces and logistics. We're completing application process for the preschool expansion grant, and so we're very hopeful that we'll get that, because that's a big push for our governor is to expand pre-K. And also the playground alterations are being planned at both Garden Hills and IPA, because our littlest learners have to have a specialized specialized playground as well as program, and we're working through all those logistics. So Henry, and to your staff, kudos. Thank you so much. And so that is also a portion of why we're making some shifts to the bell schedule, transportation. We have to think about the whole system and how it impacts everyone. And this, again, is part of strategic plan priority number 2, educational access. Yes.
So this is kind of tied into a previous question that I've asked, looking at early childhood. And so we did get an answer about the funding and structure and all. And so I just want to make sure that I was understood what was being said. So it looks like students who have participated in early childhood are the ones who get first access to the summer program. Is that?
Oh, back of the summer things we were
So
talking
like
about?
the pre-kindergarten, so those who hadn't had, is part of the summer programming
Yes,
list.
go ahead.
So the summer grant program is very specific to
Oh, the gears, okay, the gears
Incoming-
grant, okay, yes.
incoming, because it's a transitional program, so that is very specific to incoming students that are going to be in kindergarten. So it's the bridging, basically it's transitioning between preschool to kindergarten full day. So that grant was specifically written that way to help with that transitioning behavior. What we're talking about here with early childhood expansion is part of the state has 2 sides to their support. One is a half-day program, which is what we're currently receiving funding for. What we're talking about is diving in even further to do a full-day expansion of the programs, and so that necessitates a number of the changes that we're looking at both IPA and Garden Hills. But there will be criteria for students that the state has already established for those students to come in. So it's, I think all of us would love to see additional childcare options throughout the county and the city, for sure. This is very specific with the state board and with the federal government in terms of what they want to see for early childhood programming.
So does that help?
It
So
does.
yeah,
Because when I looked at it, I was like, well, it appears that, it says that it targets students who hadn't had access to a pre-K program, but if we weren't doing the outreach to kids and families who aren't part of pre-K, how are we filling those seats if that's a priority?
Gotcha. And so with the Gears program, we will definitely, those who we know are entering into kindergarten, that's that first grant we were talking about, they will get priority because we know who they are. Then if we have seats of it left over, we can still continue doing outreach. If you got a kiddo that's going into kindergarten or has never had any access to any kind of pre-K, then we can make that happen too. We can have those conversations. So, but as Linda was stating, the whole expanded, the full day, that's a whole different grant. And that's the one where it's definitely, there's guidelines for half-day pre-K, and there's guidelines, even more guidelines for full day. So just because you want to go full day doesn't mean you meet the criteria. And so we have a screening process and all those things that we have to follow in order to make that happen. Okay? You're welcome.
I'm fascinated by how they landed on first grade day. That's what you follow. That's interesting.
That's probably because not everybody has a full day. Everybody doesn't have full day kindergarten. So now this is the year where next year, they're saying
That
that all
makes sense.
schools have to have a full day kindergarten. So once that is in place, then it'll probably be, you have to follow the kindergarten
The
day.
K-day.
The K day.
Okay.
So that's that.
So what is the average age of a student that goes to a full day placement of a pre-K? What is,
We generally look at the kiddos who are closest to 5-year-olds. You don't generally put in 3-year-olds in a full day program, and that we're not going that route. So it'd be our 4-year-olds who are going to be ready for kindergarten the next year, are going to be 5, who will be. That's one of the part of the criteria for our expanded pre-K.
thank you.
Okay. All righty. Let's see. The next thing is elementary schedules. So we are currently reviewing our elementary schedules to incorporate time for the ELA adoption that I am so excited about, and additional time for math, the new Bell schedule, the extended day, which will kick in next year, and the revised contractual language. So we're working on enhancing the integration of art, music, and PE in our new elementary schedules. Elementary principals were given parameters and recommendations and are now working on drafts. Principals have to turn in their first draft review to Dr. Taylor and to Peter Furch by May 31st. So they have their marching orders. They know it needs to happen, and so this is also goes right in line with our strategic plan, our priorities 1 and 2, instructional excellence and educational access. So we have resources, and it's a full expectation that they utilize the resources the way they were designed, and there are expectations for it to happen, and we have to craft our day to make sure that our students are well-rounded, so they're reading, they're doing math, they're getting their art, they're getting their music, getting their PE, and all the other things that we have to do, the unfunded mandates that are out there as well. So we're doing our best. So we're in the middle of working our schedules to make sure we get all these things in.
I should have asked this. If you enter IPA or Garden Hills to those full day classrooms, do you have to attend IPA and Garden Hills?
Okay, so at the registration process, there will be a question that says, if you are placing a full day, are you, especially for IPA, are you intending to stay through IPA and be a part of the dual language program? And those students will get priority, first priority. They will not have to register again to stay at IPA. If they say yes, that's what they want to do, then they automatically matriculate on into kindergarten at IPA from pre-K. Same thing at Garden Hills. So if you say yes, you want to continue on and stay at Garden Hills, then you will not have to register again. You'll just automatically go on into the list and be kindergarten. There's always that option if you don't want to, it is not working for you. We are not going to tell someone you have to stay here. They'll just have to go back into the registration, the student assignment process, and do like everyone else.
Okay, and when it comes to IPA, is priority given to our ELL learners, our Spanish families? And then, or is it?
The same as we've been doing right now with
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
It's the same process,
Okay.
same
Thank you.
expectation. Mhm. Okay, sorry. No, those great questions, because I'm sure others will have those questions too. So, okay. All righty. Garden Hills programming, 6-8 programming. So Garden Hills is targeting 6th and 7th graders for next school year, and 8th grade will follow in the SY25. So SY24, which is coming up, they're targeting for 6th and 7th graders next year. And then so Dr. Fuller and district leadership have identified needs such as gym and playground space, furniture, professional development, and much more that I will not bore you with on tonight. Dr. Fuller has done an amazing job of keeping her faculty apprised of existing and new developments on a regular basis with support from the district leadership. And so she's got phenomenal ideas on how to do all these things. And so we've been working with her about how some of it we have to phase in and some of it we can just do right away. She's a go-getter, and I'm really excited about her leading this 6-8 pre-K 8 actually. Dr. Fuller and district leadership will continue to plan and work to ensure we have a strong start in the fall. And again, this goes with our strategic plan priorities 1 and 2, instructional excellence and educational access.
So next year's sixth graders, or presumably this year's fifth graders, but the next year's seventh graders, are you able to speak to, like, are those students in another school right now who it would be good for them to, okay.
Yes, so she is working with the other middle schools to see if there are students and families who want to come back to Garden Hills and for to be seventh graders, because, you know, maybe the bigger school was not working for them, or they just want to go back, they loved it, whatever. So we're giving her the opportunity to do such. And then those kids who are in fifth grade right now have the opportunity to stay for sixth grade.
And let's say, 'cause I know we've had some changes with our middle school assignments. If somebody is the middle school their child is slated to go to next year, they're not happy about that, like, or whatnot, like, can those families, is Garden Hills open to families who are not currently at Garden Hills?
Great question. We haven't
It
had
took
that
me a
one
minute
yet.
to
So
get
you know
there,
what?
but-
We'll put that down as something, because if that's the case, I'm
Okay.
sure we can probably have that conversation, because there may be, if there's seats available.
But right now, the focus is on Garden Hills students, current Garden Hills
Yes,
students.
yes,
Okay.
but that is not something we will say, no way. We have to look at it and see how we make that happen.
Focus and then, yeah, okay.
And they can also just call, if there's an issue with that, they can call Mr. Orlando Thomas, and then he can have that conversation, because that's what we're trying to get people funneled to, making sure they call the right person about the question that they can get the answer to. This is him. This is his work. This is his area. School, a student assignment, transfers, no transfer, all that. This is his work. It should always start with Mr. Thomas. Okay? Thank you. Great questions.
One
Anybody else?
question, can you remind me, I know there's a collaboration between IPA and Edison in terms of extracurriculars. Garden Hills is with
Franklin.
Franklin.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, and we're excited about that. And we'll keep doing that until at some point in time, these two really grow into their own. Then we'll start looking at reallocating funds, and they can be their own. Or maybe one day those two schools may co-op. We don't know. So we're just thinking right now, IPA and Edison, and Garden Hills and Franklin.
That's one of the reasons why, when the schedule was being planned,
Yes.
we tried to be so thoughtful, because that makes it so much easier to have more possibilities for down the road as programs start to grow. And so that was
Yeah.
a key piece of that, because we're trying to think
Far
many-
ahead. That's why it was so important that IPA and Garden Hills were on the same schedule, bell schedule. Anyone else? Okay. Told you it's been a busy, busy day. All righty, we're getting close. Okay, the middle school schedules. So the middle school principals were given some parameters as well to follow from me and from Dr. Taylor, which included trying to align as much as possible so that all of our, like to have an advisory period, to enable sharing of staff when applicable, and to have reading and writing back to back when possible. So really trying to make sure that our middle schools look alike as much as possible while honoring their own demographics and their own culture, so to speak, as each of our schools has their own culture, so to speak, but there are certain things instructional-wise and system-wise that we have to make sure are aligned as much as possible. And middle school principals have been working with Dr. Taylor and Mr. Lair, Mike Lair, to develop preliminary drafts on what these schedules will look like. And the principals will also have to share their schedules with their faculty for feedback. So they're making sure they get the voices of their faculty in there. Okay. Okay, the hot topic of the night, after the Curry spoke, I don't think I have to say anything else. Like, wow, appreciate that, but yeah, it was beautifully. And I just wanted to say that beginning the 23-24 school year, bands and strings will start in sixth grade, with existing FTA being reallocated to middle schools to support co-teaching and other sectionals, and though supported by research and current Unit 4 educators. There's careful planning began last school year. This is not a program reduction. We are better aligning our resources and increasing FTE overall. We have to think about how do we bring equity to both IPA and Garden Hills, so that we had to think about that. And so this updated instructional delivery model will help us to provide more specialized instruction, build strong habits and help students progress more quickly, boost retention rates, and strengthen connections with feeder schools. And being a parent of students who were in the band and choir and athletics and all those things is really crucial. One of my kids did band fifth grade before Springfield, before we moved it from out of fifth grade just to straight sixth grade, because for the same reasons we're talking about here. And she did no better than my son, who started in sixth grade. As a matter of fact, he did much better, and he still plays today. And he plays the saxophone, he plays the drums, he plays the keyboard. And so this is really important. I'm a very strong, staunch advocate for our band, strings, fine arts program, because I think it gives some of our kids purpose, and it also it does something with their minds. And so I want to make sure that we also do our programs justice. Our teachers work their behinds off to make sure they provide great things for our students, and so to have them running around trying to piecemeal things together was not fair to them, and it's not fair to our kids. And so this also makes it more equitable. And when you can have band every day and not hit and miss, it makes for good practice, because when we say practice makes perfect, it needs to be good practice. So I want to give it to Mike and David, because they led this work with our teachers in the buildings. And did I miss anything? You want to add anything? And I just want to say thank you, because this was very important, and I know you and our band teachers and string teachers did not take this lightly. And so I don't bring things to you all until we know what we really want to make sure happens. So, yep.
Question.
I will just see if they had anything.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. You might answer it. You might answer it.
I just wanted to say that this process really did begin a year ago, and actually even before that. As we come together, we want to debrief with our teachers about how our programs are working, address some of the concerns that come forward. And some of the concerns also came forward from our art and music teachers at the elementary level, because a lot of times the rotation with band pulls from the other specials and interrupts their work within that curriculum. And so you're starting an art project one day, going to band the next day, excuse me. And so that can be another source of frustration. And so really trying to take feedback from our principals, our specials teachers, as well as bringing our band and strings teachers together to address those concerns, do the research, connect with other districts, and then decide what's best for us moving forward, and then ultimately bringing that recommendation forward to the whole team. I'd also want to add that Mr. Reif has done a great job, along with our band and strings teachers, to really increase our instrument bank so that each and every student who wants to participate in our band strings program is able to, even if they're not able to afford to purchase their own instrument or to rent it at that time. And so we appreciate the board's support of the budget and the finances to be able to continue to invest in those instruments. We also have had some extremely generous community members who have continued to donate instruments. And so if anyone is interested in donating instruments, please reach out to Mr. Reif or to myself, and we'd be happy to support another student with that instrument here in Unit 4.
Yes.
Mr. Reif, anything you'd like to add?
Just that last point, strengthen connections with feeder schools. That's work still to be done. We need to devise what that plan looks like for our middle school instructors to be able to go to their specific feeder schools and really recruit, hopefully the entire year, build connections with fifth grade general music teachers, but especially in the spring, just to be able to get down there and introduce kids to instruments there and start that recruiting process so that they know who's coming to them in the fall, ready to hit the ground running with sixth grade. So that's still work to be done. We're going to keep meeting with our instruments teachers just to make sure that we have the plan ready for that next year.
And I think that's a key piece that we have to make sure we remind people of, that our current model, you don't get a chance to do that because the kiddos are coming from all over the place into the middle school. And I think the Currys talked about this already. You may have 15 flutes and one trombone and, and no sax or whatever. But now you know who's feeding into your school, and you can go there and you start talking to them and get them ready. So they're starting, in the beginning at sixth grade to get it going. So I think that's a very powerful piece to remind you of, and not to just throw this out there, but I'm have to say I absolutely think our band our programs are absolutely amazing. So any way I can continue to help strengthen them, I mean, sometimes I go to the games just so I can see the band, you know, like if my husband goes with me to a football game, he goes, "How long you gonna stay?" I say, "I gotta watch the bands." So, and that's something you don't get to see. Every district does not have that same quality that we have, and so I'm excited about it. So, yep, go band. I'm sorry, you have any questions?
Yes, one concern that I've heard over and over from parents is that, especially with fifth graders, oftentimes they had to choose between recess and band.
Yep.
And so it was lessening the numbers of potential band students. And so after that, and even with COVID, I'm hoping that our numbers do increase. And so I'm hoping there, as you're talking through some of those ways to strengthen those connections, that we can think about how to increase more students in 6th, 7th, 8th to get to high school so we can have even more students.
Right, and now with the requirement that started this year of the recess, that we have to have so many minutes for recess, it's kind of like you can't take them out of recess anymore, you know, those kind of things. So there's all kind of parameters and things that we run up against that sometimes help us say, nope, we can't do this anymore, and make us go back to the drawing board and rethink. So that's one of the reasons also we're also looking at elementary schedules. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we get all sorts of requests to add staff all the time, right? And Dr. Boozer normally is very skeptical of lots of things, but seeing the work and seeing the effort that was put in and the research and all of that, she said yes, like almost instantaneously, because we are adding staff as a result of this, right? But she said if it's going to make the program better, like this is something we need to do. And that was one of the first yeses, actually.
Dr. Baker, I'll assure you that we do look at those numbers. I have those enrollment numbers for about the past 7 years. COVID did hit us really hard, but we've recovered. And now we look at, if we're losing kids in the middle of the year, why is that? I think, like you said, a lot of times kids are having to choose. And when they're going so long between instruction, they sometimes disengage, right? And then choose something else. So we're really excited that our program's growing again. Again, we want anyone that wants to be in band and strings to be able to do it. So any support we can have with that, we'll always take. But yeah, it's something we definitely monitor.
The worst class during COVID was online band.
Oh.
I don't know
Tell me
how they
about it.
even did it, but I was quite impressed. And I saw that with my own children. They tried to stick through it, and it just didn't work out in a way that I was hoping that they would stick with
Can
it.
we
So
practice outside? So, because, the COVID germs won't fly. I mean, it was just all kinds of stuff going on. But you know what? That just shows our staff, and they persevere, and they can make it work. But they shouldn't have to,
Yeah.
but they do.
And I could actually tell when they were in class because I could hear the violin. As a parent, because of the interruptions to the schedule, my kids absolutely lost interest. It's actually harmed our house because of, and I didn't even really think about it, connecting it to there's rarely a full week, so it does affect the rotation. And you answered my question about instruments because it was so expensive to rent the violins just to try that. So parents who need that help, it's available. Renting, if you can't do it. The other thing, it's unfortunate that this got out before you got to tell us because I started hearing from community members before I ever heard from any of you. And so that's unfortunate because we need to hear the explanation and the rationale and the actual report before we even can comment and asking the questions. The other thing that's not being talked about, we have a robust music classes in our elementary schools. Miss Harris is amazing. I still want to walk over to the elementary school and visit with her where our kids are exposed to instruments and music and how that works. I mean, it's not as if a program is going away. We have a robust music program with dedicated educators in our K-5 curriculum. So IPA Garden Hills will have access to band and strings.
Yeah, so IPA will keep their position that they've had, and then Garden Hills, those will be shared with Centennial to make sure those FTs stay full-time.
Yep. And I'm glad you mentioned that about the information being brought out to you all before I got to bring it to you, because what I try to do is empower my folks to work as teams and collaborate and then bring me what they're thinking with the rationale, and then we talk it through. And so I was even waiting to hear from my T&L department and from my music teachers and my band and strings people to hear what their rationale is and what they were thinking. And so then how can we make this better for everyone? So, sometimes you can have those conversations, and we can get the work done, but sometimes, and again, we have over 10,000 students and over 2,000 staff members. Everybody's not always going to be happy, but we have to do what's best for the system as a whole. So, okay. All righty, and I think this is the last piece of our working groups that's been in motion and the Columbia updates. So we're scheduled to move out of the Columbia building June 1st, and the construction will begin sometime in June, and it would be in June 2023, and it should end sometime July 2024. And then that's when the programming that's currently in the building will return with expansion of programs in August of 2024. Really excited about the alternative programs. So right now, we have young adult program is in Columbia, and they're going to move to Central High School. And they'll be in place for this year's summer ESY program. Restore Elementary program will move to the Actions on Randolph Street. The Novak Academy is going to have a temporary home pending board approval at Parkland College in the X-Wing building. And that lease will run from June 1st, 2023 through July 31st of 2024. And again, this aligns to our strategic plan, Priority 1, Instructional Excellence. Mr. Thomas, did I miss anything on the Columbia updates? Because this is another, that is your, okay. Got it. Ms. Makowski? Anything?
No, we're moving along, trying to make sure we've thought everything through on the Parkland space. And obviously with young adult and Restore, those are, we didn't say it up there exactly the way we did with Novak, but the expectation is for, as we kind of walk through this, these are not permanent transfer spaces or permanent home spaces, but these are spaces that we're putting a lot of time and energy into making sure that while they're there, they are really good spaces for them. So I appreciate all the folks that are in these different programs. We've met with them. I believe Young Adult is actually holding an open house fairly soon as the space is completely refreshed. So that'll help parents and staff members. We've met several times over there so that we've got their input on how to make that space really work. And so I think from that standpoint, it's there's been quite a lot of outreach on that particular program. Restore was in Actions before, so for them it's a little bit of a, they'll be a little bit tight in there, but they'll be able to make that work with the program that they're doing. And then, honestly, when we get everybody back in Columbia, we've talked about the renovations to this building, but the addition of the elevator, the ADA accessibility, the improvements to the gym space, the improvements to the exterior spaces, the improvements with the HVAC system, it is really going to make that building open to the district for a number of different uses for hopefully another 50 years. And so we have really extended the life and the options for the district to be able to use that space with, obviously being able to take advantage too of a federal grant that we needed to be able to expend the money to be ready in case we ever had to have an additional space available to us. So we've answered the conversations around the grant. Construction is beginning to take shape in terms of what the architects are working on, so that'll be coming back to the board for approval. And again, I think everyone in those programs has done a really good job of trying to think through sort of what this temporary transitioning of spaces is going to look like for them and how to do it, so.
Which also leads us to our conversations with, I don't know what we're going to call it, right now it's ROC, but as we're looking at capital improvements and having conversations with cabinet and different community members about where do we see ourselves going as a district, so what spaces do we have available to us to expand to become that world-class pre-K-12 education system. And so what does that look like? And so even bringing in architects or whatever to give us an update as to what we could potentially use some of our spaces for, things of that nature. So that's work that Mr. Walker and his team will be helping to lead that, and so it's been really exciting. And back to the Parkland piece, Parkland, I think, is just as equally excited or more excited than we are to have our kiddos on their campus. If nothing else, it gives our students the opportunity to see a college campus and to know that you belong here. And having these same conversations with U of I as well. So it's exciting. It's a great time for us right now. So yeah.
I brought it up before, but the logistics of the young adult program at the same time as our current programming at Central, drop-off, pickup, is going to be an
I
issue.
already have Mr. Walker and his team working on all those things.
Okay.
So we've already
Awesome.
talked about that, and so we're working on it. We'll continue thinking about it. So whatever potential barriers that may be there, we can work through them and things of that nature. So we can adjust, and
And the only other question I've heard from parents is when you talk about the young adult program, can they access curriculum back at Central? And I think you're going to have to be really clear on what those guidelines and parameters are. And
those are good questions too. So our SPED director will help guide and work through those pieces. So that's all logistical curriculum areas that we will definitely make sure we take. So if you hear any of those other things, please let me know so I can make sure I pass them on
Okay.
to her and to her team.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Guess what? I'm done. Did I tell you we've been busy?
You've been busy. It wasn't just today.
Busy, busy, busy. They didn't think I was going to do that, but I told them I would. So, and I just want to say thank you to everyone, community, staff, family, everyone, board, my team. Thank you so much for all this hard work. And so this is just the beginning, and we just got to keep things moving. So really excited about it.
So, and future questions from anyone, where should those be directed?
Just depends on what it is.
But to you, correct. So if you have questions regarding this from our community or board, we'll come back to you, because this is a lot to absorb.
Yep.
Or
and we'll
maybe
keep this,
start
of course,
with
this
your-
will be on the website too. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, or maybe start with your building principal.
Yes, that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they have more information, especially around the bell schedule and what it looks like for their particular building. And they're still working through those logistics as well. So, yeah.
So more will be coming.
And we will communicate in multiple ways. You may even get something on Swift K-12. I don't know.
Thank you all for all the hard work you've done. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Boozer.
Brad, I want to say, can I just publicly say thank you to Brad because he's amazing. Transportation this year has been better than it's been in a long time. And I just wanted to, while you're sitting here, give you kudos while you're sitting here. And I just want to say thank you. You are valued, you are seen, and we appreciate you. This has not been easy, but hey, you're doing it. Thank you.